Alright, so,
She was 69 years old.
Nice.
God damn it. What a way to start a recording.
You said 57, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, so at the finale of the last season, which was forever ago, I think, um, the final confrontation with the inheritors was met and with equal force was quelled out. At the conclusion of the various operations that had occurred, I declared that there would be a 5-year time skip, in which case all of you have probably gone off on your separate ways, and with that 5-year time skip, let's go over to West, who I believe you said was doing something more private sector related by this time.
Yes.
How does that look for you? Any particular? Do you have your own like civilian vessel for that, or?
It's probably similar to something like the Silver Paladin Order.
Okay.
Ships well outfitted for private security / mercenary work. Just going out to various colonies, and I would suspect that, well, since right around Horizon is the new hot spot, this is where we would probably make the most money at this point.
Okay. With Horizon being a relatively new hotspot, in addition to that, with how all of the crew has set and has gone off, Horizon Station is under new command as Fleet Captain Phillips has commissioned another vessel. Uh, Now Captain Sky is much closer to the Sol system and the uh, system between Bajor and Cardassia. I believe, Paco, you said Nashik was probably back at the Vulcan Science Institute.
The Volpace Institute.
Mm-hmm. All
It's not quite
far
the same as
away,
the Vulcan.
yeah, but all far away from Horizon.
Right.
Um, for you, West, it's the scenery of Horizon has changed over these 5 years. It's security is still a thing. You are able to make a living and such, but it is, as opposed to your previous tenure on it, it's relatively quiet. You're able to do your security jobs without much issue. Generally, escorting trade ships or small civilian craft into the deeper reaches of the unknown edge of the Alpha Quadrant. Um, do you think you would have your own like set uh, a crew of people you work with, or is it more just a solo gig for you?
It would probably be with another crew.
Okay.
Very much in the lower end on the totem pole, since I would be the newest person to have joined up.
Okay. The ship that you are on is, as opposed to anything Starfleet or a higher spectrum of Federation, it's it's not as glamorous. Um, think if you were to think of a ship, you could think of the light cargo frigate from the Picard series, something similar to that, except not as nice, and maybe just a little larger and maybe a little bulkier.
Gotcha.
The ship itself doesn't hold very many people, that being, including yourself, it totals out to be about 7 people. Nothing large, but it will do, and in addition to that, you have a fairly large space to yourself on off hours. Going through, is there any particular things that you would be doing aboard said vessel? Because this is a vessel, and you don't really have to patrol on it, so...
I would say if we're on downtime, I'm probably just doing a nostalgic walk around on Horizon.
Okay. Horizon Station, on the last time you encountered, had significant damage. Now, though, that damage has been repaired, and the vessels that support Horizon now are much more geared towards the scientific and exploration aspect once again. That being, Reliant classes. The classifications of ships would be Reliant, Titan, Pathfinder, Sagan, a few new Constitution variants, and several older ship classes that still refuse to bow out of existence. There is a relic of a Cali class that does not seem to want to just give in. But for the most part, it's a relatively calm walk around. There are businesses bustling, there are people. Notably, there is less... The civilian population has increased, and the Starfleet presence has dwindled a little bit. Not a huge amount, but enough to where it's noticeable.
Wes will note that that's probably one of the reasons why they were hired to come out here.
Mm-hmm. There is a beep from your communicator, and unlike anything of Starfleet regulation, it's not a standard just comm badge. It's a little bit more of a relic, much more TOS, though modernized type of communicator, as it kind of chirps a couple of times.
I've probably fed that into my ear like I did with my Starfleet badge.
Okay.
I don't like eavesdroppers. But I will tap the comm badge. West here.
The voice is, and you've gotten used to them, is a human Bajoran woman, a little bit rough to communicate with initially, but seems to mean well. Done daydreaming? We got a job.
Sorry, there was a little bit of interference. Could you repeat that?
Yeah. She responded with, "Are you done daydreaming? We've got a job."
I thought I was still on my off hours, but I can head back. What's going on?
We're not sure, to be perfectly honest. It's a interesting security job. anonymous client is willing to front us a Type 6 25th century warp coil, so I think it's worth investing in.
Where do I need to go?
Well, it's for all of us, and we need to go inwards into the Alpha Quadrant, apparently.
Very well. I will head back to the ship shortly.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll see you there. So you begin walking back as we shift scenes far light years away. Many, many light years away. As a human woman in Command Red is leaving the briefing office of one higher up room into the Admiralty of another, aboard Deep Space Nine, which has freshly returned to the Alpha Quadrant after a 5-year stint on the other side of the wormhole. Upon entering into what is now Vice Admiral Dax's ready room, and coincidentally adds itself to being personal quarters, she looks amused, a tinge annoyed, and slightly impressed.
I hope that look is not directed towards me, Admiral.
Ever so slightly, but only a little bit. Only because I have to.
What bad news did we get this time?
No horrid news, just that your now chief engineer your chief engineer has a special talent for irritating Vorta diplomats, and I am both impressed and a little irritated by it.
Well, I didn't bring her on for the niceties.
No, you did not. You warned me about that. Just the unfortunate spectrum was it was during a debrief with some of the other Admiralty.
Ah. Well, I need to reprimand my chief engineer.
Let's avoid it. Just maybe another slap on the wrist. I would hate to be the one to give another reprimand, seeing as they're truly rivaling some of the worst cadets I've ever met in reprimands.
Oh, I think I could name a few that have more. Pride being one of them.
Only had brief run-ins.
But be it that may, I believe all ships are now accounted for on this side.
I believe so. And I think before she can finish her sentence, there is a instant flip, and DS9 goes into not a yellow or red alert, but a mission alert alarm goes off, and she's a little surprised by it. She's not really expecting this.
I simply roll my eyes and go, when it rains, it pours.
What the hell is going on? Ops, speak to me. We're not sure, Admiral. It looks like a vessel, but it's reading a few different signatures that we don't quite understand. How far away? I mean, it's a distance away from us. It's about 16 light years, but it's... It's what? It's headed to Seoul. Captain? The DeSoto is the only one with a slipstream-capable drive.
Indeed, she is. I assume you are ordering me to intercept this intruder.
Intercept, do not confront if it can be helped.
Understood. And Alaska taps her comm badge. Notice Sky to DeSoto. One to beam back.
Alright, as you are transported, towards the other two. For Neshik back on the institution, what would you be doing?
At this particular moment, if
Yeah.
I'm in my free time, I don't know if this would necessarily be something I was assigned or doing as my own project. I'd be monitoring any potential members of the anybody who looks suspicious, following up on, say, the cadets from way back when that got infected, to any former... Who was the name of that person we encountered in that prison? I am completely blanking.
It
Way
was
back
the
when.
species 8472.
Yes. Basically, all the oddities we encountered on our way. Species 842, any more signs of that weird time-traveling spaceship. I probably just have a one screen that's open that's a live stream of the Andromeda Galaxy.
Interesting, but
Just trying to make sure Neshik doesn't like being surprised.
evidently. Okay, with that in mind, why don't you make a insight security with a difficulty of 2.
Insight security. Give me 1 second. So that is 15 to beat. Yeah, I just realized I've just became fucking Mulder.
I was trying to be nicer.
Oh, it's 2d20, not 1d20. 1d20 is a shit. Oh, that's not how you format a roll. Nope. Ah, fuck it. Where's my actual die?
Oh no, is it broken again?
That's a 10 and a 6. So 2 successes.
Okay, exactly. Oh my god!
Oh my god, I killed him.
My leg fell asleep, and I hit the side of my desk, and I have TV static in my feet now. Okay, the whole not being surprised thing is kind of absurd. Because you are detecting something. It's
I'm not paranoid. I'm correct.
there is what you can detect as a fairly large vessel, a little bit not as large as a Galaxy class variant ship, but pretty damn close. And it's gonna skip right over you, and it is headed straight to the Sol system.
Yeah, I probably have a superior I should inform about this. Well, I guess it's time to open up a Zoom call with whoever my listed superior is, as well as whoever my not listed superior is.
Okay.
Not necessarily the same call, but
Alright, your listed superior is pretty, as expected, a pretty mellow, emotionally stable Vulcan man. um, kind of looking over your readings. That is. Why is that so funny?
because it's genuinely funny. Vulcans never lie. Never Spock lied.
Oh my god. Anyways, yeah, kind of looking over your readings. That is most concerning.
It is unfortunate I actually cannot say this is unprecedented, but based off past records, all incidents of this type are generally notable.
What?
I'm bringing this to your attention to dispatch to higher up in command. I am no longer monitoring the vessel. It is outside the scope of resources I have access to.
I will. I will inform the higher ups post haste then.
Understood. Live long and prosper.
Does the gesture, doesn't repeat the phrase.
Jackass. But
To your non-listed superior, you have the exact opposite experience as they are, they're a little bit newer to being a superior. They are not Vulcan, though they do have Vulcan appearance. They are in fact Romulan. And
this is not to go back to the Spock thing, but Neshik is getting it from both ends here. The listed superior is Vulcan, who doesn't like her because she was only born on Vulcan but isn't Vulcan, and now our unlisted superior looks Vulcan but isn't.
mm-hmm. As she appears on screen, she's definitely taken more, I would say, as far as appearance and such, very 60s Earth appearance almost.
All right, not what I was expecting.
But you're not really sure what's going on there, whether it was weird experimentation or just genuine interest, or who the hell knows. But you coming up and pointing this out, just well, that is incredibly worrying. In fact, beyond worrying, actually.
If it is any comfort, past records indicate that these situations can be resolved with minimal casualties.
True.
However, until I can ascertain more information about this vessel, I believe it is best to refrain from undue speculation.
We could definitely get closer to get more information.
If you are reassigning, I would just need to know. Well, not reassigning. Giving me an assignment, I suppose, would be the more accurate term.
Yeah.
Regardless,
But
I'm not going to be able to do it here at the Institute.
no, you are not. I have a ship that we could acquisition for such a task.
I understand that this is a crisis, but is this ship... Neshik is gonna tent her fingers and lean back in her totally not gamer chair.
Okay.
This does belong to at least one of our departments, correct?
I would hope not, because it's mine.
Do you know how to fly it?
Do I know how to fly my own ship?
You'd be surprised.
Yes. Yes, I can fly my own
Okay.
ship with
Whew.
incredible proficiency. I have not pushed it to warp 9.5, but we can try.
Maybe one step at a time. Respect. Or one crisis at a time.
Oh. Crisis, that's a fun word. It's a...
Regardless, I will be ready to depart within the half.
Perfect. I will get the shuttle ready. The crisis, as you have so aptly put it, is... Hopefully it doesn't explode. Like a binary star system.
I did not see anything to support that conclusion.
No, that... Never mind, it's a history lesson for later.
Quite. Neshik out.
Yep.
Alright, time to get packing and get on that ship.
There is a slight bit, because this is actually relevant for you, Neshik, at least you would know, historic-wise. The whole... It's like a delayed reaction for you. You didn't catch on to it at first. The binary star system explosion, like a history lesson or quip or joke, you pause and realize just how absolutely messed up that dark humor is. Because the star exploding is what blew up Romulus.
Okay, never mind, that's actually kind of funny.
Okay, as you board, way out in somewhere no person would ever have thought themselves to be, Dr. Apricity is... You are within a Tholian city. It is a strange place. To say alien is kind of a very weird understatement. But nevertheless, there is at least one building that sets itself apart, and that's something of more Federation design. However, it is not as large as the Horizon Medical Facility. It is significantly smaller. It's a little bit more manageable. And as most normal biological beings cannot handle Tholia, most of your support staff is hologram/AI of some variants. Because
Sick.
you just don't have a choice. You still have...
I was just gonna say, I do actually have a question about that. Am I basically forced to walk around in a suit 24/7, or was I able to basically requisition an alternate body capable of surviving in this heat?
The latter. I mean,
don't know if that would even be...
similar in build structure, but I mean, one that's a little... The alternate, like, basically you can upload to one or the other. Just one looks just a tiny bit more synthetic because it needs to be able to handle the harsh elements of Tholia. But overall, it's not that discomforting.
I mean, it's not like the Tholians care about human uncanny valley.
No, they do not. No, they have their own version. No, I don't think they do. Or maybe they would. I don't know. What would that look like? Never mind. We're not gonna...
Spiders freak them out because they have an extra set of legs. Something like that, probably.
Yeah. Whatever, we're not focusing on that. You do at least have sensor and satellite output readings. Tholia being relatively close to the Sol system, your systems are also able to detect a vessel moving. That makes no sense. For you, though, Persidy, something truly weird happens. You can sense it, you can see it on the scanners and everything via your own computer programs, and then it just suddenly blips out of existence for you what feels like an absolute eternity, but realistically probably only blips out of existence for about 70 seconds before it reappears.
Is it from that time when Aleska and Neshik vanished into thin air? There were readings in the aftermath of that, if I remember correctly. Is it like that?
There are readings, yeah. It's really strange.
But like, is it the same thing? Like, is it the same
it's not the
readings
same,
as when?
It's not the same thing, but you are able to at least get an idea of what might have happened. This vessel, just the little blip that you got, you can theorize that maybe it can effectively put itself into a pocket of subspace.
Okay.
Which, as far as Federation, Starfleet, and most other civilized governmental bodies, subspace technology is just a big no-no.
Yeah, do we know about the fungus dimension yet from Enterprise? The mycelium, whatever?
I think that's Discovery.
Discovery, sorry, not Enterprise.
No, you wouldn't.
Well, I guess I will send memos to my supervisor in the Tholian Embassy and in Star Trek Embassy, the Starfleet Embassy.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, I'm here to study creatures that live in extremely high temperatures.
All right.
I'm definitely going to keep an eye on that ship, though, to see how close it gets to... Because it's heading towards the Sol system. Is it there yet?
No,
Is it
but
presumably in a trajectory directly for Earth, or...
It's directly for Earth, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Maybe I'll mark a little urgent on those memos.
Okay. It takes a fair amount of time for the Tholian ambassador to get back to you, and you've just learned that's a standard thing for them. The concept of time is just whenever, unless it's something militant, in which case you have no interest in it, but the concept of time is weird. The urgency factor from the Starfleet medical facility, you actually do eventually get a response. A fairly thin man, hair graying, that was probably a deep, brown at one point, and wearing the dark kind of sea green science and medical colors, answers, and you know you've only interacted with them once through just because you had to, and generally just through reports. But you do know of some of their exploits and some of their understanding. This would be Dr. Julian Bashir.
My fucking boy?
Mm-hmm. He looks a little tired, and you're probably guessing that back on Earth it is sometime in the middle of the night.
Oh, Dr. Bashir. I wasn't aware you were going to call me immediately.
Well, you don't typically memo so late, so I would have to assume it's something urgent.
Yes, I just saw a strange reading from a ship that crossed my attention. It vanished for a period of approximately 70 seconds, and it appears to be on a direct course towards Earth. It seemed something that... I'm probably just being paranoid. But given my experiences on Horizon Station, we dealt with more than enough terrible, fast-acting threats that...
Alright, well, I'm not that far away from Starfleet Command, so I can ring the medical doorbell and see where I can go.
Yes, unfortunately, my connection to non-Starfleet medical personnel is rather limited as it is, so I...
You would be lucky.
would appreciate... It's by design.
Well, I'm gonna have to take your design sometime in the future.
Of course.
I come out very
Just
strange.
make sure to sign yourself up for a mission in a completely inhospitable planet.
I've had a few goes at that. I think I'll choose something a little bit more mild-mannered.
I apologize for waking you up so late, but I wasn't sure if it was something that could wait.
No, your urgency is appreciated.
Yeah, if there's nothing else Bashir has, then Apricity's just gonna keep working.
Mm-hmm. The screen clicks off as presumably he's off to do that.
No goodbye from either of them. Mission, conversation done.
Those two are both far too socially awkward to do that. So
There's a reason they communicate 90% through memos and emails.
mm-hmm. Doing a little bit of more time skipping here. The freighter and actually the DeSoto would get there first. It's actually a terrifying thought, truly. But the DeSoto for you, Captain Notice Guy, as you are on the bridge, you can see your crew working as hard as they can to catch up with this thing. Your engineer, who she is as foul-mouthed and as pessimistic as she is, has pointed out the urgency and knows that the slipstream drive needs to go a little bit harder than it usually does. But you are getting relatively close as one of your science and officers turns from their console and looks over to Captain, we're about 200,000 away. We can... It'll be a little bit distant, but we could get a view screenshot, potentially.
How are our long-range sensors?
They seem to be functioning just fine. The ship is... Ship's gone, Captain.
And sensors, what are the sensors saying?
I don't know. There was a subspace rift, and it's gone.
Can I cross-reference this with anything both in Starfleet database and, well, shall we say, a private database that Alaska has?
Yeah, you could cross-reference it.
Do I find anything similar? Or should I make a roll?
You should make a roll. This is going to be a... This is either reason security or insight security, whichever you feel is more applicable here.
Both of them are the same, so that would be 14. And would the value my life has been more, well, I need to know the difficulty first.
3.
Would the value my life has been more interesting than people know work here?
I think so, yeah.
So that's 2 successes, and I need to get 14 or below. I got the Starfleet Delta and a 9.
Okay, so that totals out to being 5, then, right? Yeah.
Yep, 5
5,
successes.
so then you have 2 momentum. You have encountered something like this, similar, a few times actually. But one of the most notable events in your mind was you being an average lieutenant aboard a Galaxy-class technical testbed where you had a showdown against effectively subspace torpedoes. This is very similar technology, or at least in concept.
As I go through that in my head, I go, scan subspace.
Captain, what the hell? And by the time you say that, the ship that had disappeared is back on the long-range sensor. Captain, it's back again.
They're skipping through subspace like you would skip a rock on a pond.
The con officer, a fairly talented young Betazoid man. She's right. It's like skipping. Effectively, there's not as much subspace rules versus warp rules versus all of that. It's all very different, but they're a little bit further away from us. It's like it's like the, how do I explain it? It's like a delay in EPS manifolds, except instead of delaying, it's fast forwarding.
That means they're either more primitive than we are or more advanced than we are.
Somehow both of those sound terrifying, Captain.
Full sensor suite. Let's bring them up.
Alright. The sweeping of the sensors also, now that they kind of know what they're looking for, the con officer immediately just does something that, and the con officer is a lieutenant junior grade, so they don't have a lot of authority, but they do something that you probably weren't expecting, as they just full stop the ship. Out of slipstream, out of warp, out, like, just dead stop the ship.
Report.
Things got really difficult, Captain. Permission to collaborate with science very quickly as we use the deflector and sensor array in tandem.
Permission granted.
They send over instructions, and you can't see anything visual with the deflector or the sensor array, but it's really hard to see on screen. They're much larger. They are much, much larger than what was used by the Dominion, but these are subspace mines. Just everywhere.
Terrific.
I can maneuver us out of this, Captain, with maneuvering thrusters, but it is going to be slow.
Indeed.
The other option is something with a bit more maneuverability to jump and move through it, is to take the aero shuttle.
Or, if my memory serves me correctly, we've been able to open a wormhole very briefly once before with the Defiant.
We could try that, but this ship is not near as small as the Defiant, and therefore we're going to have way, way less room to work with.
True, but we don't need for it to be open long nor very large. Just enough to get through the minefield.
I hate minefields so much.
If these were ordinary mines, I would try and set them off remotely, but seeing as they are subspace mines, I'd rather not do that.
We should probably put a buoy down.
We'll do so before we enter the wormhole.
Alright, well, if we do that, then I don't want to destabilize any of these subspace mines. So if we open the wormhole and we have at least a destination, a rough destination, it doesn't have to be exact. I don't want to go past warp 2 to jump out of here.
Indeed. Would the wormhole test have been heavily classified?
Now that you have 4 pips, it's a little bit easier to access that because you have level 10 clearance.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still kind of one of those things where there's a little bit of red tape that you have to move around, and you can get around it. Like, your new security clearance and access codes will get you to it. You have that, but the full understanding is accessing such a forbidden piece of information effectively means there will be a debrief, there will be a interrogation process, there's going to be a follow-up after this whole event that truly is just not going to be fun. And it won't be just you, it will be everyone who you spoke to and involved in this operation. So the entire bridge crew, all 16 other members on the bridge, are going to effectively be subjected to 72 hours of that.
Well, they knew what they were signing up for when they signed up for the DeSoto.
Right.
And I make sure to warn my crew that this will be something that will probably happen.
Alright.
And I will begin the process of unlocking that file for Science and Helm to be able to coordinate with the wormhole opening.
Alright. Seeing as it's been more refined, it's not hard for them to do. It's just a little bit of hesitance, only because they know what happens afterwards. And the interrogation by said, like, higher-ups will probably be 4-star or higher admirals, which is just something no one looks forward to.
Alesta is unfazed during this whole thing. But she will go to bat for her crew if she needs to.
The DeSoto makes all the necessary adjustments, and your con officer kind of looks towards you. Here goes nothing, I guess.
Punch it.
The DeSoto jumps to warp 2. And it seems like these were much more sensitive mines than you were anticipating. You don't get hit by them, but a couple do go off near the wormhole that you opened. So you will make it out, but you do make it out, but it's a really tight set of close calls. Because it starts collapsing literally like 100 meters behind you and keeps going before you exit out of the wormhole. recon officer looks to the science officer. Let's hope we really never have to do that again.
Where are we relative to the intruder?
The intruder's still, well, about half a light year away now. They've gained some time on us.
Take us back into Slipstream.
Alright. Jumping back into Slipstream.
And I turn to my chief engineer, who's probably on the bridge and not looking too happy.
No, she's not. You've had a couple of chief engineers. She's probably the third one you've had. A couple have retired at this stage. Your first one they were in their final, year of service, basically. But she is your third chief engineer, and she is looking around and, pulling certain, isolinears and stuff and, resetting them to communicate back down to engineering. Are you all nuts?
I will get you a very exquisite bottle of scotch when we get done with this.
That is a start. I will take that, because I will need it.
And I will make sure that for the repairs that I'm sure are coming, I will get us the best spot in Utopia Planitia.
Well, Utopia Planitia, at least it has a lot of vacant spots.
But let's stop this intruder first. And I assume that we may not be at yet red alert, but we are definitely at yellow alert.
Yeah. That is your call as captain to make, but I would think you'd probably want to be at yellow alert.
Yellow alert with about not the most advanced shields we have, but the regular shields at least are up.
Mm-hmm. It takes you another hour or so before the ship you are chasing does seem to do that disappear into subspace and reappear about 70 seconds later. It does it about 3 times before you reach effectively what is Neptune.
During the you said it was 3 times they did this, right?
Yep.
During these 3 times, I go to my science officer. What are they doing in subspace? Are they recharging their warp drive or something?
I'm not entirely sure. I'm trying to get readings, but our systems aren't necessarily meant for detecting deep subspace. I think... I don't know. One thing that's consistent is every time they jump to subspace, it's 70 seconds.
Would an extra boost from astrometrics help?
Maybe, but I would rather save that boost if we get into a confrontational situation. I'd much rather have those saved for impulse thrusters more than anything else.
Understood.
Not to take away from Tactical's job, but I think that's the wisest option.
Considering that they seem, even though are they bigger than us or smaller than us?
they're just a little bit smaller than a Galaxy-class variant ship, so they're fairly large.
We will need that extra maneuvering. Keep scanning as much as you can.
You eventually, at the very edge of the Sol system, and then it just makes it to about Mars and stops.
We will also come out of Slipstream and keep a respectful distance, but prepared to engage if needed.
Okay.
I assume the Soul Fleet is here by now.
Oh yeah, they noticed. They noticed. The Soul Fleet is, I mean, it's not a small fleet. It's massive. And the fact that it stopped right at Mars is like really concerning, because that really sends people through some war flashbacks. They don't really want Utopia Planitia getting decimated again. But looking through, and now you're finally able to see it on screen, it doesn't really look like any ship you have ever really seen. It has a very simple shape, much like any of the Borg vessels that you've encountered. However, it looks like just a giant star, effectively, with many points to it. Though mechanical in every aspect, you are also able to see the level of intricacy on it. That being said, it doesn't look like it's all rough made. It's clearly mechanical, but everything is very smooth. It just looks very, very not like anything you've seen before.
And they've not taken up with any aggressive stance or anything. They're just sitting there.
Correct. Yeah, they're just sitting there.
I go to my comms officer and go, open a channel, send friendship greetings on all frequencies. Let's see what they do.
They have a few controls, and there's a uncomfortable wait time before you almost get like a hail chime back. What the hell? I mean, they're hailing back, Captain, but I don't...
Bring them up on main viewer.
You bring up the main viewer, and it is...
I am also patching this to Starfleet Command as well.
As you bring up the main viewer, the scene that you see is something that you truly are not expecting to see on the main viewer. And it's clearly a view screen. You're seeing the DeSoto's bridge as if someone is just stepping out of the turbo lift from like a back to front view of it. That is what you are seeing. Everyone is positioned in their stations as if they were being looked at from that position.
I look to where the camera position is. Do I see anything?
Nope.
Who is my communications officer?
Your communications officer is actually a unjoined Trill. They're not exactly the most outgoing person, but they're trying to like analyze from what they see. I don't know what this is.
Scan our system for a breach. They must have access to some sort of camera.
Yeah, let me look. Short scan, internal, heavy security scans. Nothing.
This might be a little late to have done, but Alaska will go scan for life signs on the other ship.
That is absolutely ridiculous.
There's no one aboard, is there?
Quite the contrary, Captain. There's 6.2 billion biosigns.
Are you able to see the species?
I can't identify it.
I assume there's more than that on Earth at the moment.
Oh, significantly, yeah.
I will stand up, and I assume my image on the view screen. I stand up as well.
Mm-hmm.
This is Captain Alaska Notisky of the USS DeSoto. To whom do I have the pleasure of speaking to? And I assume it just repeats on the main viewer.
It doesn't, because you are looking at the back of your head when you do that. The other new weird thing that happens is your image turns to face you.
I wait for the image to speak. If it does.
Normally, Paco.
I felt it was irrelevant to ask.
Nah.
This isn't Call of Cthulhu.
After a little bit, your reflection, as it were, speaks. What is your place? That's effectively what it translates out to. There's a couple of garbled bits, but the universal translator is having none of it.
Can you boost the signal, Lieutenant?
signal's as boosted as it's going to get. The universal translator is just not getting it.
See if you can feed more power to the universal translator. And I go back to my image. I am in command of this vessel. That is my place here.
Are there many of you?
Of me, there is only one, but of those who hold similar places, yes, there are many. I am also, since I'm in my chair, I am also having a text thread with Starfleet Command while this is happening.
This is acceptable. And then the view screen just cuts off.
Odd. And I hail Starfleet Command.
Yeah, the admiral that basically replies immediately is, older woman, Admiral Clancy. What the hell was that?
I have no idea, Admiral, but I think this might be a new form of life, I think. Although the fact that they spoke mirrored is concerning.
Why would they do that?
I go to my science officer. You said there was 6.9 billion on board.
6.2, but yeah.
Biological or energy based?
Biological. Without a doubt, biological.
And what is the ship doing now?
The ship actually is changing its shape. Slowly, but it is changing its shape.
Should we continue our wait-and-see approach, Admiral?
I don't want to start a fight with anyone that we've just met, but I also want to proceed with caution. I have an uneasy feeling.
So do I, and I have learned to trust my instincts.
When the ship is done transforming itself, it still has that star shape, but now it looks like that very poorly drawn, like, sun that, like, preschoolers and kindergartners draw. It looks very similar to that. And every sort of branching off limb of it seems to have a port opening.
I think we're being invited. Because those do not look like weapon ports to me.
No. They don't, but they're not very large. They don't look like they can even contain a shuttlecraft. Maybe a worker bee or a shuttle pod.
We have a few of those on board at the DeSoto. Shall I attempt to make first contact, Admiral?
You have my permission. Proceed with caution.
And I go to the science officer. Activate the bio tags on our comm badges. Keep a tight lock on both our bio signs and transporter locks.
Understood, Captain.
And I will alert my security officer and my doctor.
Okay.
And who would my doctor and security officer be?
Your current doctor, it is not the one you would expect. Your current doctor actually departed on Deep Space Nine, so you have the assistant nurse, but she's more than capable. Human, has a particular, fascinating lineage that you are familiar with and can track all the way back. This is Dr. Sato.
And my security chief?
Your security chief is a pretty average-looking human man. He's docking at the end of a 5-year stint. You get a whole lot of like trades and switch arounds, so it's not your typical scene, but it's what you got.
Yep. And we head to the shuttle bay, to the shuttle pod.
Dr. Sato looks at the shuttle pod. I hate these things. They're so cramped.
Indeed they are. But they're no worse than a Type 9.
Yes, they are, Captain. They're smaller.
And I will let my chief security officer pilot the vessel because the captain still has a piloting of 1.
Man, I hope that comes up into Boldly Go.
I mean, we saw how I piloted the shuttle in the finale.
Kind of. But as Dr. Sato is a little hesitant, this security chief just like kind of right at her upper back just like pushes her into the shuttle pod. In you go, Doc. Okay. You depart the DeSoto and head over.
I'm imagining a TMP type scene of Spock approaching Vija kind of deal here.
Kind of. Though this feels a little bit more ominous, I'm sure. The shuttle pod enters into one of the ports, and it is... Even the shuttle pod, it was a challenge. Like... Hold on. Yeah, because the shuttle pod that you are using is a Type 18 shuttle pod, and they are tiny. And it's barely making it.
I'm beginning to have some suspicions about the crew of this ship.
Yeah, yeah. Dr. Sato is not having this. Yeah, I'm having my own uh, verifications of whatever suspicions I might be having. Namely, I'm not going to enjoy this experience, I don't think.
I assume there's some sort of outside wall panel to connect the docking ports to.
Uh-huh.
Chief, eyes open.
Yep, I will, yeah, I'll, keep my eyes open on the entering. What the? Okay. Entering into this ship is a wholly different experience. There's definitely halls and stuff to move through. But it's like that weird crouch standing as far as size for the most part. Okay, I knew this was going to be a tight squeeze, but this is actually ridiculous.
No signs of any crew around.
Not. No. There's plenty of crew moving around.
Why am I getting a Gulliver's Travels feeling here?
Captain, we need to leave.
What am I seeing?
I will explain. You, Alaska, aren't actually seeing anything right now. I need you all to just listen to me. Step for step. Go back to the shuttle pod.
I will, Commander, if you explain.
I do not have the time to explain here, and it is too dangerous. So as security chief, step for step, Captain.
Doctor, you heard the man. And I have my phaser out just in case. No, actually, I would not have my phaser out. I would have my back knife out.
After you get to the shuttle, the security chief leaps into the helm, disconnects, doesn't even bother to close the airlock port before ejecting, and for a shuttle pod that can only go like a quarter impulse at max, it's doing all right, and he seems to be maneuvering it with a lot of haste. All right, Captain. Now that we are out of the danger zone, I can tell you I have a theory that the exterior hull of the ship was blocking stuff, and we couldn't get accurate readings. But he tosses the tricorder back and just haphazardly, not even very cleanly.
I go through the data immediately.
The data that you see is absolutely alarming. You have not had personal experience with this, but you know several decades ago at this point, that the USS Enterprise, NCC 1701-D, had a run-in with a particular alien organism that they encountered once and the Federation never encountered again.
It's the crystalline entity, isn't it?
No. Nope, this is significantly worse. These are the same bio readings from the small. They're not very big. They're the size of a large beetle. And to anyone who has seen TNG's episode The Conspiracy, the parasitic body snatching organisms, that is what the tricorder is reading.
I will immediately go to the co-pilot's console, patch in to the DeSoto's communication, and relay this to the Admiral. We need to destroy this ship, Admiral.
Understood.
And then I say one word that I assume they would know immediately. Parasites. I assume that gets a reaction from the Admiral.
Yeah. As you head back to the DeSoto, the vessel, and I mean, like I said, it's not a small vessel. As soon as all other ships raise shields and hit the red alert status, the vessel just vanishes again.
Scan subspace?
It's in subspace, but it's hard to track. It's moving.
Toward Earth?
Yeah, towards Earth.
I assume there's no way to determine the vector it will come out again.
Not remotely, Captain. I'm sorry. I can be fast on the pull, but other than that, I'm stuck at being reactive.
Admiral, I think this would be a good time to raise the planetary shields.
I think you're right. If I raise the level 10 planetary shields, understand that we will not be able to communicate with the fleet or you anymore.
Understood, Admiral. What are your orders in that time?
Pull it away from Sol, destroy it if you can.
Understood. And Alaska will relay that to the rest of the fleet.
Okay. With the fleet now beginning to engage against this vessel, and you're doing your best here and there to fight with it, but it's doing probably one of the most annoying things possible that you have to deal with, and it's smart that you have to, you admittedly you have to admit it's smart, but it's truly annoying. Is it'll go in its 70-second stint into subspace and then exit out of subspace. And it generally exits somewhere next to or within the fleet.
And it's completely random.
It appears to be completely random, yeah.
If I remember from TNG Redemption, tachyon lines between ships. Can detect a cloaked vessel if we did an anti-tachyon thread through connected to all the ships. Perhaps we can detect them in subspace faster.
Yeah, we can definitely set up a net like that. However, every ship has to be absolutely in sync to set up the system, which means every ship has to be prepared to defend one ship while the others are setting up.
We do it in rotations until the net is established.
Yeah, alright.
And I will coordinate with whoever is in charge of Soul Fleet to make it as efficient as possible.
The going through and trying to get everything set within Soul Fleet, setting up this with this massive net, because you need this net. It is imperative, like you've determined that this net is imperative to have to even remotely begin to start a counterattack. However, looking at the timer that science and ops have shown you to get it as effective to be about a 98% effectiveness, to get the whole net set up between the 112 ships for Soul Fleet is going to be the world's most stressful 6 hours.
And we have no idea what the parasite ship will be doing in that time.
Nope. One thing you can note is every time it's come out of subspace and it's been like attempted to be shot at or something like that, it hasn't fired back. It hasn't made any offensive moves thus far.
I will keep note of that, but considering how hostile they were early last time we encountered them, taking no chances.
Alright. Neshik and West, you are actually getting the, at least, intercept communications of what is going on in the Soul System on the various ships that you are on.
How far away are we roughly?
For you, Paco, Neshik, and your other person that you were with, you're about 4 light years away, so that's about maybe at the max warp, roughly, doing math in my head, like, it'll probably take you about 2.5 hours to get there.
Okay, so we got. Since we've been tapping into their communications, is that just an audio feed, or
It's
does
just
that
an audio
say?
feed because it's just something Romulans are good at espionage, so they're able to make the equivalent of basically a police radio scanner that is just because they can. As for the ship that West is on, it's literally because the commanding individual of this vessel has no respect for privacy of any type of variants, but either way, both of you are getting this.
What to do 2.5 hours away in subspace. What have I got? I would have heard Alaska mention mirror. So I'd start bringing up incidents related to prior mirror activity. If that makes sense.
Okay.
Additionally, I don't know if the discussion about because I don't quite remember when it happened with regard, or if I would have been tied in specifically to the shuttles, but about the 6.8 billion life signs, in fact, these are parasites, would have gotten through to me, or if it was just between the main ships that I have.
No, you would have gotten at least a little bit about that.
Okay. In that case, I'm going to start looking at parasites as well.
Okay.
Primarily anything related to, for lack of a better term, population centers. Like, is this 6.8 billion, for lack of a term, something like, to reference a different sci-fi series, High Charity, where it's a mobile capital and like cultural institution, or is this just like they're very, very small? A lot of them fit in one big space.
It seems to be the latter.
Okay. Marginal is concerning.
Mm-hmm. But as you were headed that direction, what is Wes' reaction just hearing all of this?
Huh. And then I would just look over to the captain of the vessel. Is this something we should be concerned about?
If I wasn't formerly a crew member of Starfleet, I would say no, but I know what this is to some degree, so yes, we should be concerned about it. And also, have you seen the old movie Invasion of the Body Snatchers, all of that?
No, I never really understood the fascination of going into centuries old media when we can create our own on holodecks.
I literally have one of the cargo bays is a theater. You should really actually sit down and just plug one of them in.
I will take it under advisement.
Alright. So, we're going to go to Seoul. We are going to put this job on the side, but, don't tell the Federation of Starfleet I have this. We're probably gonna burn it out too. It's a trans-warp coil from... You have no idea where the fuck they got this. Okay. On to Seoul.
This will be fun.
Yeah, as long as the ship doesn't tear itself apart. I have no idea if this can handle it.
Nah, the ship can't do that. We wouldn't get to be big damn heroes otherwise.
I like how that'll feed my ego. I truly do. Let's give it a shot. Flipping on to the whole intercom system within the ship. Attention, remaining crew members. We are postponing our current job to be selfless heroes and also look to get something out of it.
Wait, what? We're not getting paid? As they...
As the ship jumps to warp. But the reunification of the rest of the crew will have to wait until the next session.
Joe, I have a really important question.